Hi, and welcome to Wow Talk. I'm Donna Cappuccitti, a thriving cancer survivor.
And I'm her naturopathic doctor, Darlene Gustin. We're here to encourage, educate, and empower you on your journey to optimum wellness.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Today we're going to be talking about personalized medicine. Yeah. And I like how you're laughing because I didn't have a clue what you really meant by that or what you mean by that. So why don't you tell us, Dr. Gustin?
Okay. Well, it's not a regulated term, so there could be different definitions out there, but it's one of the principles of naturopathic medicine. We treat the person, not the disease. And so very often when I speak, I use headaches as an example of what do I mean by that. We treat the person, we treat the cause. And if there were 10 people that had headaches, the same kind of headache, feels the same, looks the same, from a naturopath, you would get 10 different answers. So person number one might be having that headache because they have a whiplash. They had a car accident a month ago. Person number two could be having a headache because they're constipated. Person number three is having the headache because they are a week before their menstrual cycle. Person number four is having the headache because they are lacking magnesium. Person number six is dehydrated. Person number seven has all of the above. So we're not treating the headache. We're treating why does this person have a headache. So personalized medicine is a new word in the wellness industry, but it's always been part of the definition of naturopathic medicine.
Exactly.
Regardless. However, there is a new level. We can take it to the new level because now there are several private labs that will test your genetic code, and there will be health recommendations based on which genes you have.
Okay, that's what you mean by genetic code, is what genes you have?
Right, your DNA.
Their DNA. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so here and there, a patient will ask me about that, and it's kind of funny when they do because I have a genetics degree, but I had not really been doing any DNA testing on my patients because in the field of genetics, it doesn't matter which gene you have. It only matters which gene you express. So lifestyle overrides genes.
Okay, could you explain what that means, how you express a gene? I don't quite get that.
So let's say there's a family of diabetics. So everybody's a diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say I'm in that family and I'm thinking, oh, everybody in my family is a diabetic when they turn 40. So I'll just eat all my sugar and do everything wrong because it's going to come because it's genetic.
Oh, okay.
But the reality is in science that blood sugar disorders very often are the end result of years of poor lifestyle. And there's a lot of leverage. There's a lot of prevention that can delay or prevent it from ever happening or minimizing it. And if you did a genetic test, you might have the gene for breast cancer, but how much you eat vegetables, how much stress and inflammation you have in your life, all these negative health effects, they damage the DNA and they allow those genes that we naturally hide to be expressed. So if someone says, well, I started becoming a diabetic at age 40, I'd say, why? Well, if it was truly genetic, why you didn't have it at age 35? So something non-negotiable in genetics would be something like, I have brown eyes. You can't change that.
Mm-hmm.
But with health, you can override genetics a lot. It's not a guarantee. Medicine is never black and white, and there are no guarantees in medicine. But I wouldn't just roll over and play dead because I had some genetic test that says I have the gene for something. There is a purpose to it in the sense that you could know your vulnerabilities and therefore you could adjust your lifestyle in a certain area of health. But some people do those kind of tests out of fear because everybody in their family has cancer and, oh no, I have this gene for cancer, therefore I'm going to surgically remove my breasts so that if I don't have breasts, I can't get breast cancer, right?
Wrong.
Exactly. Even men can get breast cancer.
Yes.
So I find that a lot of the time it comes from fear.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always a balance in the answer to which tests you should have and what you should do with that information is always what's in the best interest of that individual. But that's the latest definition of personalized medicine, is that there might be some genetic testing involved.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. So out of curiosity, just a few years ago, I did my own DNA test.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, this is interesting, just because I'm academically interested, right?
Yes, so am I.
And so there's a naturopath in Toronto that offers a service through her website, a professional service. And basically you had to have your genome. So I had done one of those ancestry tests on another website, and, finding cousins in the States and things like that, family history, third cousins, fourth cousins. And so I did that, and I took the raw data that they took from my saliva with all my DNA information, and I uploaded it into this second health site run by a naturopath. And she takes your genetic code and says, oh, you have this gene, and your body chemistry may need exaggerated amounts of B12, and you're probably okay with gluten, and this kind of exercise works the best on your body. And I was happy I didn't have any rotten genes that would scare people. I was like, okay, that's nice, but that wouldn't have scared me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really impressed with how much it had advanced, because they could take your genome and they could tell you weak areas and strong areas, which is great information to have. But they took it to the next level, and they said, and when you look like this, you could eat these foods, you could exercise like this is your best way to reduce stress, and this supplement would work really good on you. And then it would even give me product names of supplements that are available in Canada. And I thought, wow, what a luxury.
That is incredible.
So the only downside was that you had to pay for 2 expensive tests. So for me, it was like an educational expense.
Yes.
But it's not something that I realistically do on the norm with my patients. But those kind of tests are out there.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners would be interested in that themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So what else can we say about personalized medicine?
Well, sometimes it's not about supplements or drugs. With going back to the example of the headaches, sometimes it's not your neck or your vitamins or your toxins. Sometimes it's even your emotional state, your emotional and spiritual health. So as naturopaths, we define optimum health as the ideal function of your physical body, your emotional health, and your spirituality. Mm-hmm. And so personalized medicine, sometimes patients come in and they've made an appointment with the naturopath, and the last time I saw them, I gave them a liver cleanse or a parasite cleanse, and they come in that day and they will say, oh, all kinds of rotten things happened in my life since I last saw you. I didn't even start taking any of the supplements. And I'm looking at them thinking, wonder why this person kept their appointment. And then, and then we start talking, and I realize that some big emotional trauma has happened, or it's an anniversary reaction that their spouse had passed away a year prior, and they were just really in their fetal position this month emotionally. So it becomes more of like a psychological appointment, or life coaching, or emotional support. And so personalized medicine is just meeting someone where they're at. And even, for instance, when I'm working on heart health, so if someone has blood pressure and cholesterol and blood sugar, and they could lose a few pounds, yeah, they could take medications. We could talk about the Mediterranean diet. But sometimes there was a patient I had today who would fit into that category. And I can respond to that appointment with different tools. And I can say, do you want me to show you how to make a meal plan? That's too much. Let's just talk about what is enough protein? What is enough fiber? And taking a baby step. And some people really want a big, elaborate 30-day meal plan and tell me how to cook the broccoli and how much it should weigh in grams and how big is the piece of chicken. And another person is like, what does 20 grams of protein look like?
Yes.
And in this particular case, it wasn't food. It wasn't supplements. It was you snack too much. This person was having 3 meals plus 3 snacks a day. And this person is so heavy that it exceeds my official medical scale. He's heavier than what my scale can measure. I would need a special scale to measure how much he weighs. And I said, eating frequently increases insulin. So he wasn't actually eating that many calories a day. He was having a pretty healthy day. So the foods were good food choices. If anything, the caloric content of his diet was in a calorie deficit. It was not a lot of...
Really?
Yeah. And
wow.
this poor man, he's over 350 pounds, but he's snacking. And we know from the past, when I had first met him several years ago, I saw him respond really well to reducing his eating to 3 meals a day, not 3 meals plus 3 snacks. And so
it made a difference.
It made a huge difference. And then he lost his routine. They were moving, they were renovating. They didn't have the luxury of having their own kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
And so these bad habits came back. So we just went back and repeated what worked a few years ago, which is to just bunch up all the food into 3 meals and let his insulin, his body have less demands for insulin, not 6 times a day, but 3 times a day.
Wow. See, that's a perfect example, because there could be someone else who would try to do that same sort of method to control their weight or whatever the case may be, and it may not work for them because
or they come in
different.
And they go, I want an alternative to Ozempic. I've heard about berberine. I've heard about chromium. And I'm like, no, can we talk about the fact that you're not supposed to eat 6 times a day?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And that it worked before and you forgot. And so lifestyle medicine is very often where I start, and I'm always defaulting back to lifestyle medicine. So personalized medicine, another naturopath would have given them berberine and chromium. And it's personalized based on who the practitioner is. To me, it's personalized on what's realistic and doable for this patient on this day.
Okay. That makes, once again, like everything else, perfect sense. Everything you do is very logical. It's just so logical, and it's incredible what natural personalized medicine, like what it really stands for, what it means. And, it's getting back to the basics, really.
And it's never boring.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to send them to us. Please follow us on social media. We are on Facebook. We're on Instagram.
And we love your messages. And if you have any suggestions for topics, please reach out and let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.